The following is brought to you in part by System Blue. Products and education. System Blue.
Ladies and gentlemen, the corps on the field, the conquered Blue Devils.
Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond.
Putting on a drum corps show requires many different techniques of teaching and learning. Today, the front ensemble is learning a chunk of the snare solo, a technique that is used to understand how their keyboard parts interact with the complex rhythms behind them.
So let's get started. Remember, we're working on this part to help us understand the snare drum part better. In part 3, letter E as they move across the field.
We learned the snare break and the closer because we were trying to work on our front to back timing with them. We learned like 16 bars of it, and it was really complicated. There's like 5-lit rolls everywhere and like a lot of like fourth partial rest of the 5-lit, and it's like really like confusing. But like after learning it, it's like we have like a better understanding of it. We're able to play better with the battery.
There's a lot of space and there's not a lot of downbeats in the battery part, and the pit ends up playing on a lot of those downbeats. So there's a lot of hits in space, so they need to know what happens around it so that they can get those.
Today's a rehearsal day, so usually on rehearsal days I like to work out or run during dinner.
Normally, instead of running to the food or getting to the food line and having to wait in line, you can just come out here and work out. Come on, let's go, Seth. 20 more. Today we at first we wanted to run just a mile, but I said maybe we just run one lap around and then do like a workout, another lap and do another workout, and at the very end we went and ran up the stadium stairs.
It's nice to do it with a partner. I don't know, we talk a lot while we do it.
We push each other, so it's pretty good.
It's good to talk about rehearsal, just kind of chill out whenever we're running. So it's pretty nice.
The 2017 show represents change. Change within the organization, within the drum corps activity, and within other aspects of life itself. Therefore, through many different ways, the opener tells the story of the beginning.
So the entire beginning of the show is a direct callback to classic drum corps and the time where everybody was on one piece of equipment and it was cleaned day by day to be just perfect.
And we start off just marching, and then we progress going into drop spins, and then we progress even more into doing double time and shuffling with double time. More so at the beginning of the movement, everything is very contractile based, meaning like it's set points and there. And as we progress going into more advanced skills other than drop spins and double times, you're allowed to have a freeness with the body. So it kind of leads up to a progression of what the show is all about.
So at the very beginning, we start out with the horn line is all in one big line, and as we're pushing across, people are kind of breaking out from the horn line, breaking out into different choreography and just different movement. It's representing people like breaking away from the past and maybe starting to make that transition now to the future.
The show starts off with a big mega snare line. You could say the music is very standard, traditional, like drumline cadence from back in the day. Once the 16-man snare line has marched across the field for a little bit, we kind of break into sections of 4. So the first pod will play 4 measures, and then the next pod will come in. First group of snare drummers enters an arc to play their little first solo. After the first solo is done, the second solo comes in with the tenors and bass drummers. And these solos are a little bit more progressive in terms of the writing styles. It's definitely trying to show a progression of some sorts. We rotate this diagonal, and then we play this big split where we ripple across the snare drums, and it comes back, and then we're going to have a bell note, and that's the big payoff of this big snare moment. We've had to figure out how to, like the tenors and basses, how to play together on a different instrument. We've already figured out how the quads or basses work like that, and then just having a different experience, a new experience of having to listen to these snare drums. Definitely difficult and demanding.
Beginning of the show, there's 7 of us girls that are in these white bags on top of the prop, and we start to slowly, as like 16 counts or so into like the music, we start to like expand and start to do these really like slow but large movements that's supposed to be like kind of like a cocoon where like the butterfly starts to like try to push against it to like come out of the cocoon.
There's a couple different ideas going on the field, but we all end up in a big, just like a huge diamond on the field, and then condensing it forward into a smaller diamond. So I think the most challenging part for me would be being able to transition from where we start the show, which is really old-fashioned, to going into a more modern feel, and then even more modern beyond that, not just in marching and not just in choreography and not just in playing, but all three of those at the same time, and sometimes like a multiple demand from different decades at the same time.
The beginning, the foundation of everything. It is not a matter of old versus new, but of the past paving the way for the fruitfulness of the present, and the present striving to do the same for the future. A constant thread boldly marching on.
Next week on Inside BD360.
27 Points in Space was an exercise created by this dancer named Rudolf Laban. He used it to help dancers analyze movement and understand where their body was moving in the space around them.
So there are a few logistical things that I did that adapted it in a way that made it way more relevant to what we do. But I inherited it and kind of used it for our purposes. And now I just kind of push it on everybody.